and welcome to the OHSAA Division III at Spencerville. We are in for some great track, and this is the finals. I'm Jennifer Beck alongside Nate Garlock. Looking forward to a wonderful couple hours of running, and I think we may have some good weather.
Yeah, finally, right? It's been a little bit of a rough spring, and this week is included. We've had these guys out here running prelims in cold and rain and wind, but not too windy tonight. A little chilly, but really good conditions. The distance kids are going to love running in this tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I want to mention to you that our title sponsor of our broadcast is Wabash Mutual Telephone. Wabash Mutual Telephone, proud supporter of Mercer County Athletics. And we've got some Mercer County athletes in our first heat, our first event, only heat. These are all finals. This is event number 3. The girls' 100-meter hurdles. In lane 1, we have Alyssa Homan of Marion Local. Lane 2, Sophia Weirling of Minster. Lane 3, Carly Busher, St. Henry. Lane 4, Grace Moeller, Marion Local. Lane 5, Molly Brame of Minster. Lane 6, Naomi Kanapke of Parkway. Lane 7, Reagan Hayes, Temple Christian, and Lane 8, Annabelle Horseman, Lincoln View.
And you look at the hurdles in general, whether we're talking about the 100 or the 300s, your rhythm is so important. But in these 100s and these 110s, we're going to watch the boys in after this, being able to get your rhythm consistently, that is going to be the key. We have some fast times in this time. We might be on record watch. Cece Worsham of Temple Christian currently has the stadium and district record at 14.6 seconds. But Grace Moeller of Marion Local may give that a run.
Here she is, and Grace Moeller already showing her skill with, just like you said, Nate, that 3-step jump over. Look at her make her way to the finish line.
Great finish for her as she came across and came away with an easy victory there.
That's right. Moeller gives you a first-place finisher with a time of 15.12. Brame is second, 15.55. Kanapke 3, 16.24. And your fourth-place finish to move on to next week, Busher with a 16.26. Our broadcast of the Division III districts at Spencerville is brought to you in part by First Federal of Van Wert. First Federal of Van Wert is a premier sponsor for the Lincoln View Lancers. Your community, your bank. Event number 4, the boys' 110-meter hurdles. Lane 1, it's Lane Steinke of Waynesfield Goshen. Lane 2, Bo Dwenger of Minster. Lane 3, Noah Peters of Lincoln View. Lane 4, Carson Herod of St. Henry. Lane 5, Garrett Trentman, Ottoville. Lane 6, Jay Schroeder of New Knoxville. Lane 7, Cody Ricker of Lincoln View. And Lane 8, Adam Winter, Marion Local.
Yeah, I think a way that you can tell that this race is so much about technique more than speed. If you take a look, this is a senior-heavy race. All entries are seniors except for 2, Noah Peters and Lane Steinke, and they are juniors. So when you start to get to district finals and you move through, you start to see that a lot. A lot of juniors, a lot of seniors, guys who've been doing this for a long time, because it takes that much technique and style to be able to do this effectively.
Wow, and we've got an Ottoville guy making his way ahead of everybody, but the ones behind him are barreling down and trying to, oh, that's
Garrett Trentman.
Wow, yeah.
Trentman doing a nice job out there. He came in seated, what was that? He was seated second, but was able to kind of pull himself away there about the middle of the track and came away with a nice victory.
Trentman first, Herod second, Schroeder third, and Peters fourth. They will move on to the regionals next week. Event number 5, the girls' 100-meter dash. This broadcast is brought to you in part by Hallman's Insurance, your trusted local insurance specialist, member of the Wayne Insurance Group, with 2 locations to serve you in Chickasaw and Versailles. The girls' 100-meter dash, this is the final heat. They did have the prelims a couple days ago in some rather not great conditions. The weather tonight seems to be a lot better. Here's who we have running. In lane 1, Delaney Balliot of Crestview. Lane 2, Molly Brame, Minster. Lane 3, Grace Moeller, Marion Local. Lane 4, Audra McMichael, Spencerville. Lane 5, Nakia Kimmett, Delphus Jefferson. Lane 6, Aaliyah Pullman, Marion Local. Lane 7, Graylee Gross, Crestview. And Lane 8, Harper Randell of Lincoln View. So we just saw Grace Moeller not long ago. 2 races ago, in fact.
Yeah, quick turnaround for Grace here. She gets into the blocks here for the 100-meter dash, and she's seated pretty well, so she is right there on the cut line. She is seated in 4th place, so we'll see if she's able to come back here in.
Our top seed time coming in is in lane 4. That's Audra McMichael of Spencerville, being challenged by lane 5, Kimmett of Delphus Jefferson. And lane 2, Minster. Let's see who won.
That is going to be awfully close. I'm not sure if we're going to get – they're going to say McMichael. Say 12.49.
Kimmett was second, 12.54.
And the seeds held as Grace Moeller came in fourth. So she's going to be heading to regionals in two events.
Right. And Brame was third. Tonight's broadcast of D3 District Track at Spencerville is brought to you in part by Charles River. Charles River in Spencerville, proud to support area athletes and students. Visit criver.com for more information. Event number 6, the boys 100-meter dash. Lane 1, Jace Lindemann, Delphus Jefferson. Lane 2, Liam Putman, Crestview. Lane 3, Zach Zerby, Spencerville. Lane 4, Cole Kaiser, St. Henry. Lane 5, Victor Holscher, Marion Local. Lane 6, Justin Knopf, Marion Local. Lane 7, Drayden Hoffman of Crestview. And Lane 8, Gage Steinke of Waynesfield Goshen. Nate, we got a kind of a star-studded group here, some really strong runners.
Absolutely. Should have a fantastic race here in the middle of the track. Gotta love the start by Zerby, though, falling off a little bit as we are going to have – it is going to be Kaiser of St. Henry that took first. He came in with the top seed time of 11.15. The sophomore running a great race there, and looks like he lowered it almost an 11 flat run. Absolutely flying.
Kaiser, Holscher, Zerby, and Hoffman, that's your top 4. Tell you what, I saw Cole Kaiser run last week at the MAC Championships, and he was just a powerhouse. And, you know, just a sophomore. Going to be neat to see what he does the rest of this season and for the next few years.
He'll be a fun one to watch for sure.
Moving now to event number 7, it's the first of our relays. We want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you tonight in part by Laudex Jewelry, your family-owned and operated jeweler for more than 70 years. Visit them at 1244 South Shannon Street in Van Wert or online at laudex.com. 4x200-meter relay in lane 1, it's Lincoln View, leading off with Harper Reindell. Lane 2, Marion Local with Katie Greshop. 3, New Bremen, Allison Pipe. 4, Spencerville, leading off with Lillian Strayer. In lane 5, it's St. Henry with Ellie Fullenkamp. Lane 6 is Minster, Sophia Dirksen. Lane 7, Crestview, Graylee Gross. And lane 8, Lima Central Catholic, Kajaya Cooper. And when I read off the names, I just want to let you know it's the information that we are given on our heat sheet. Sometimes relay teams do change, but we'll tell you what we have right in front of our face.
Good start by all the teams. When you're watching these 4x2s, you know, these legs, it's interesting to watch how the coaches have them staggered and what their philosophies are as far as where they put their strong runners, where they put the legs as far as they think that might be a little bit slower, and how they want to kind of try to make up for that speed. But right now, a great job out there. It looks like that is going to be – is that Minster?
Yeah,
they'd already broke the stagger, and they're the first one with the handoff.
Yeah, Minster, and then St. Henry next to them also looked pretty close. And that second runner for St. Henry, Sam Lauber, is chasing down that Minster runner. We've got Ava Stallman listed as the second runner.
Letter Johan coming right up for Spencerville as well, though. She's made up that stagger. You got to remember, as you see them cross here and they're close, it looks good, but when you're talking about the way that the lanes are and the stagger that they're looking to break, Spencerville has a sizable lead. Good handoff there as they're coming on in the inside.
All right, St. Henry looking strong with Morgan Balmer running. As you mentioned, Spencerville also looking strong as well. Lena Smith passing off to Fletterjohn. Then Audra McMichael will be the anchor, according to what we have listed here. Spencerville does come in with your fastest seed time of a 1:47.66. St. Henry, the second fastest seed time.
So you take a look at the handoffs here to see where they're at. St. Henry clearly out in front. Spencerville second. Bad exchange there from Minster. That's going to cost them some time.
Top 4 will move on to next week at the regional.
Great job here by the anchor by Minster to make up for that poor exchange. Trying to see if they can't track Spencerville down in second, but this is going to be all St. Henry.
That's right, Evie Gast pushing hard in. Spencerville not giving up. Minster in the third place spot, and New Bremen bringing it in for fourth. This broadcast of Division III District Track at Spencerville is brought to you in part by Laudex Jewelry. Lodex Jewelry, your family-owned and operated jeweler for more than 70 years. Visit them at 1244 South Shannon Street in Van Wert or online at lodex.com. The boys 4x200 meter relay. Lane 1, Waynesfield Goshen with Lane Steinke. Lane 2, Parkway with Josiah Neff. Lane 3, Crestview, leading off with Brenton Rodriguez. In Lane 4, Marion Local with Andrew Pullman. Lane 5, St. Henry, Carson Herod. Lane 6, Minster, Max Kanapke is your leadoff. Lane 7, Spencerville with Zach Zerby. And in Lane 8, New Bremen, Joel Lozier.
You got to keep an eye on Marion Local in Lane 4. They are the top seed time coming in here, 1:31.72. But they have ran significantly faster than that this year. They are down to the 1:29, so we will see what they're able to put on the scoreboard here tonight.
Well, it's been great watching these Marion Local runners as well, of course, with their incredible state run last year, and then many of them coming back here, just continuing to show their powerhouse. Don't think they had the first handoff there, though it was close.
Yeah, you know, Marion Local just good at everything, right? It doesn't matter what it is.
Very true.
They're just good at everything. As here they come down the middle lane at 4, but we got a good race going on. St. Henry out in front, Minster right there as well.
That's right. St. Henry with the first handoff. They are going to anchor with Cole Kaiser, who we just saw win the 100 not long ago. Marion Local is scheduled, according to this, to anchor with Victor Holscher, who finished second in the 100.
Yeah, a lot of speed. And here you come. It's the second leg from Marion, or the
That's
third leg,
Knopf.
excuse me.
That's Justin Knopf.
He is just blazing. And then you're going to hand off to a runner like Holscher, a clean run.
So Kaiser, take a look and let's watch this. Cole Kaiser, he knows the job he's got to do if he wants to pass Marion Local. Holscher, meanwhile, knows what he doesn't want to have happen. I tell you, Knopf took Holscher. That's a great back two.
Holscher had a huge lead as he is going to cruise in just around 130 mark. St. Henry second.
Marion Local, like you said, first. St. Henry second. And then we've got Crestview third. And
actually, it looked like maybe Parkway. No, you're right. Crestview got it.
Yeah, Crestview's third, and then Minster finishing in fourth. The Division III District Track Meet here at Spencerville is brought to you by Wabash Mutual Telephone. Wabash Mutual Telephone is our title sponsor for this broadcast, a proud supporter of Mercer County Athletics. This is our first distance race. It's the girls' 1,600 meter run. And here's who we have running. Claire Bowman of Minster, Josie Bruns of Marion Local, Christina Tong of Parkway, Brinley Moody, Lincoln View, Kendall Hoffman, Lincoln View, Annalie Hood of Spencerville, Joanna Top of Minster, Jane Rindler, New Bremen, Corinne Sutherland, Waynesfield Goshen, Mia Hirschfeld of New Bremen, and Catherine Post of St. Henry, Ellie Heitkamp, Marion Local, Carly Hortzman, Ottoville, Megan Miller of Spencerville, Jetta Merkel of Crestview, Alana Mesher of St. Henry, Madeline Hain of Delphi St. John's, Brinley Hauser of Parkway, Jocelyn German for Jennings, Breslin Rohr of Delphi St. John's, Morgan Hurston of Ottoville, and Abigail Dulabon of Waynesfield Goshen. And we've got Orange and Orange leading the pack, Minster and Minster, which is not an unusual thing, Nate, when it comes to a distance race.
Right, surprise, surprise. Minster is good at distance, right? As they are out to an early lead here. I'll take a look at a few results as we come through on the first lap here in the 1,600 meter. Back on Thursday, the girls and boys 4x8 was run. It was a final, and your top four placers moving on to regionals. Minster, for the girls, it was Minster with a 9:37 time, and then Lincoln View in second, New Bremen in third, and Delphus St. John's coming in fourth. The four teams moving on to regionals, and the boys 4x8. Minster, they were your district champ in a time of 8:16.62, followed by New Bremen, Marion Local, and Spencerville. A couple of field events were also finals on Thursday. For the girls' high jump, it was Addie Albers of New Knoxville. She had a mark of 5 feet 5 inches to take home a district title. Ellie Follenkamp, Ava Randley, and Clara Goki, they were your other regional your regional qualifiers. Going to the boys' long jump, Kamari Glenn, he won with a jump of 21 feet 11 3/4 inches. Drew Boggs, Kale Nagel, and Griffin Stiles are your other regional qualifiers. Boys' shot put, Marion Local goes 1-2 as Derek Griesop and Kyle Ungren, they go 1-2. for the Flyers, and they were followed by Jacob Davis and Vince Wilker. And to wrap up the field events, girls discus, it was Bryn Egbert from New Knoxville. She had a mark of 114 feet 2 inches to win a district title. Her teammate Avery Albers came in second. Briley Cook and Mara Wittenbrink of Waynesfield Goshen wrap up the regional qualifiers.
All right, the girls are halfway done here with the 1,600-meter run. Our top 4 runners right now are Bowman and Top. That's Minster and Minster in first and second spots. Moody from Lincoln View currently third, and Hirschfeld from New Bremen is currently in fourth place. Make sure, yes, Hirschfeld from New Bremen. Now we had a little bit of a race right there on that backstretch between the two teammates there.
Yeah, you can see they wanted to make a move right there, did just that. And a little bit of a pickup here in the paces. It looked like I thought the top 4 were going to kind of pack up and run together, but our top 2 runners decided that they wanted to break out now. Obviously some good conditions. We said this is a nice night if you're a distance runner.
Absolutely.
Sprinters love the heat. Distance runners love cool weather. And this is definitely a distance running night.
Then I would say that it's been a distance running season.
You're right.
Really,
you
a distance
right
running season.
And take a look at the team scores coming into this event. Marion Local is on top on the girls' side with 73 points, followed by Minster with 61. So first and second here are some big points for the Minster Wildcats as they try to track down another district title. Sitting in third, St. Henry with 44, Spencerville 43, New Bremen 34, and New Knoxville 34 round out your top 5. On the boys' side of things, Marion Local, they are sitting in first with 83 points, Minster with 66.
All right, so we saw that little bit of a sprint on that backstretch happen. That was in the third lap. We've had that bell, so we're in the final lap now, and as you're seeing, a little more spreading out. That battle that we saw on the backside that had a short lead change, but then the lead changed right back. We got Bowman in the lead. Top is second. Moody third. Hirschfeld is now actually just moved into third.
Yeah, you can tell in third and fourth place coming in close right now is Moody and Hirschfeld trying to stay within striking distance. It was Hirschfeld who went first, and she's gaining right now on second place, so we should have a good race here on this front stretch towards the finish line. 4
ladies will make their way onto the regionals, so wherever they finish in this top point, of course they're getting points for their team because there's a title here, but I think we just saw Bowman look back, striding in.
Here comes
Nate,
Hirschfeld.
she just looks so smooth.
She does. Hirschfeld trying to see if she can't get to second. I think she's going to rake it in.
Oh, she is
right
looking.
on her. A nice push right there at the end. As that is that.
Nope, Joanna Top's going to hold on for second.
Top
New Bremen
on.
third. And then that's Brinley Moody from Lincoln View finishing in the fourth spot. Moving right along to event number 10, the boys' 1,600-meter run. Here are our runners. Trey Gettemeller of Marion Local, Wyatt German, Ottoville, Tobiah Wittenbrink, New Bremen, Ryan Stuckey, Marion Local, Jack Strasbaugh of Minster, Ethan Stolley, Parkway, and next Hudson Perrotte of Crestview, Riley Kemper, Ottoville, Brentley Van Schoik, New Knoxville, Tanner Braun, Spencerville, Colin Cedarleaf, Minster, Kanan Melching, Perry, Michael Rindler, St. Henry, Damian Cantor, Waynesfield Goshen, Jaden Duvernay, Waynesville Goshen, Henry Holman, Delphus St. John's, Will Lammers, New Knoxville, Carter Miller, Fort Jennings, Hank Kopak, Delphus St. John's, Tyler Schwartz, New Bremen, Lincoln Smith, Crestview, Jack Seafring, St. Henry, Sam Goki, Spencerville, and Evan Johns of Lincoln View. Nate, they were supposed to have a prelim of this on Wednesday, but because the weather was so bad, they didn't. I think they were supposed to have a prelim anyway, but they didn't because the weather was so bad, so we got a lot of runners today.
Yeah, it is always interesting depending on how many entries you get, whether or not you end up with that district prelim or not. But, you know, a stacked field here in the 1,600 meters as it is being led right now, though, by the runners from Marion Local. Those are some big points, as we mentioned, during the girls' 1,600 meters. Right now, the boys, they are leading New Bremen, or excuse me, they're leading Minster almost by about 20 points. So if they're able to add 18 more onto here, that'll be huge. But this should be a really tight race. Those top 5 guys are all pretty close in time. As we mentioned, top 4 are the only ones that'll move on, though, so really got to watch that 4th spot.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, this is a race where, a lot of times during the regular season we see such huge spread in the 3,200, but coming into this one, a really strong group up there, and you can already see we've got the 4 guys up there with the 5th one still in striking distance for sure.
Yeah, right. And his PR right now only 1 second off of Tanner Braun from Spencerville, who Tanner is actually a little ways back right now, as we have our 2 Marion local runners, and then it is Michael Rindler from St. Henry in 3rd, followed by Lincoln View, as that is...
I think that's Evan Johns, who has a no time. He comes in with a no time, so that adds another one. I mean, I had 5 guys marked down as possibilities, and then you add a no time in.
And Rindler's doing a nice job of putting himself in striking position as well. So as we get through these next couple of laps, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But right now, the top 4 running a nice pack out front.
And you can see the back stretch is where Gettelmiller is using the opportunity to make his move past Stuckey. Gettelmiller does come in just a couple seconds ahead of Stuckey. Teammates, clearly they train together. They know each other well.
As you see, it looks like that is Evan Johns making a move, getting around Rindler, taking over 3rd place as he is trying to stay right on the hip of Gettelmiller and Stuckey. And we'll see how this plays out heading into this final lap.
Yeah, that is going to be the final lap. It's going to be really interesting to see who's got how much gusto they have left.
Rindler staying right with Johns and not too far back, coming back in 5th place. I believe that is Holman. His teammate is a little ways off the pace. If Holman wants to make a move, he's going to have to start picking it up now, though. He can't afford to wait much longer.
Yeah, we are starting to see the spread that's given us a picture of the top 4 that are most likely going to make it into the next week. Head down. It looked like your leader there is putting his head down just a little bit. I just wonder... The flag is really flying, so there's got to be a bit of a headwind.
Yeah, on that backstretch, you can tell that wind is at their face right now. And Rindler looks like he might be falling a little bit. Here comes Holman, and we may have a race for that 4th spot as Holman is trying to get up there with Rindler.
Yeah, you probably can't see it in your view since you're looking at the leaders there, but that 5th place runner, he just stepped it up right at that 200 mark.
Here he comes.
Got more left in the tank than I think I expected. St. Henry runner just looked behind. He's like, uh-oh.
Rindler not able to hold him off. What a last lap by Holman.
So we got Marion Local, Lincoln View, and then it is Holman from
Delphus St. John's, and Holman came in, it looked like, or is that?
Let's take a look. That's Perot. That's Hudson Perot from Crestview. That's Hudson Perot from Crestview who made that in to get that 4th spot. So we got Gettelmiller, Stuckey, Johns, and Perot. You're right. So if you at home, you get to see a much closer view than what we get to see. We're up in the press box. The guys look fast and strong, but small.
And a lot of jerseys looking the same colors. I thought for sure, based off of seed time, and it looked like blue, and I thought I saw some yellow in there, but I guess not. And I thought the St. John's runners were up front, but a great race ran there as he was able to come back from 5th place and get himself to regionals.
Our broadcast is brought to you in part by First Federal of Van Wert. First Federal of Van Wert is a premier sponsor for the Lincoln View Lancers. Your community, your bank. First Federal Bank in Van Wert. Our next event is event number 11, the girls 4x100 meter relay. One time around the track, 4 ladies. In lane 1, New Knoxville, leading off with Avery Albers. Lane 2, Delphus Jefferson with Bryn Coyle. Lane 3, Marion Local, Ava Ranley. Lane 4, St. Henry, Sam Lauber. In lane 5, Delphus St. John's, leading off with Lila Jackson. Lane 6, Spencerville, Lillian Strayer. Lane 7, Minster, Carrie Heckman. And lane 8, Crestview, Lydia Grace.
I love the sprints. I love everything about them. I love the relays. Always been a favorite of mine. And 4x1, it's almost like a thing of beauty, because if one little thing goes wrong, it affects your whole race. You don't have enough time typically to try to come back from that. So when you watch these races and you see these athletes and these teams that are able to get around and win, it's the handoffs. They're flawless. It's a beautiful thing to watch when you get to this level. And you got to watch these here tonight in this race with these girls and with the guys following. It's going to come down to handoffs. Who's able to get in and out of the exchange zones the most effectively, the quickest with the cleanest handoffs. Those are typically the teams that you see come away with the win. Good clean start by everybody. We'll see how things coming in and out of this first exchange.
Yeah, lanes 4 and 5 are who we're watching for with the top seed times from our prelims earlier in the week. St. Henry with a 51.44, Delphus St. John's a 51.66.
Minster just DQ'd. They
Wow.
had a bad exchange.
That's a bummer.
Good exchange in the middle of the track there by Delphus St. John's.
Spencerville also seemed to have a maybe she ran up slightly, but they did get that off.
Looks like that's St. John's, but coming up underneath on a quick exchange. Is that St. Henry or is that Delphus? St. Henry, isn't it?
It's St. Henry and Delphus St. John's battling it out here. We got Morgan Balmer for St. Henry and Ava Hershey for Delphus St. John's. And I think it went to lane 4.
Great run by St. Henry there. Delphus St. John's doing a good job as well. And I believe that was going to be Spencerville, who's going to be our last regional qualifier.
And you see Minster coming in here. Too bad for them. Unfortunately, you talked about those handoffs, how important they were. Yep, St. Henry first with a 50.81, St. John's second. And then, of course, it
was Delphus Jefferson and then Spencerville to wrap it up.
Event number 12 is next. A boys 4x100 meter relay. Lane 1, Spencerville with Zach Zerby. 2, Parkway with Josiah Neff. Lane 3, Delphus Jefferson, leading off with Parker Shade. Lane 4, St. Henry, Carson Herod. Lane 5, Marion Local with Andrew Pullman. Lane 6, Crestview, Brenton Rodriguez. Lane 7, Ottoville with Alex Lease. And in lane 8, New Knoxville, leading off with Fabian Chiola.
Looking forward to a potential 1-2 showdown with St. Henry and Marion Local. We get Kaiser and Holscher yet again as anchor legs. Crestview looking to see, though, if they can't stay close and have something to say about who wins this one. As it looks like it is going to be Marion Local already breaking that stagger. Off to a great start. Great handoff by Marion Local in the middle of the track.
You can already see, though, St. Henry trying to barrel down. But, man, Marion Local looking strong.
Almost the exact timing for the handoff there. So I know St. Henry looks behind, but you got to remember the stagger. But Knopf doing such a great job on that third leg. St. Henry, Marion Local handing off right about the same time.
Beautiful handoff there by Marion Local. Oh my goodness, look at Cole Kaiser.
He's trying to catch Holscher. Is he going to get him?
His face. Oh my goodness, so close.
Marion Local just holding on. Kaiser doing a great job closing the gap there in that final 20 meters, but just ran out of track. And Marion Local is going to hold on, and they will be your champion.
0.01. Marion Local gets a 44.04. St. Henry 44.05. Crestview and then Ottoville. Wow.
Fantastic race.
Event number 13, the girls 400-meter dash. This and the rest of our broadcast is brought to you partly by Homan's Insurance, your trusted local insurance specialist, member of the Wayne Insurance Group, with 2 locations to serve you in Chickasaw and Versailles. I'm Jennifer Beck with Nate Garlock. This is the girls 400-meter dash. These are the finals, the final. It's just one heat. Lane 1, Clara Goki of Spencerville. Lane 2, Riley Busher of St. Henry. Lane 3, Evie Gast of St. Henry. Lane 4, April Baker of New Bremen. Lane 5, Naomi Kanapke of Parkway. Lane 6, Kate Turnwald of Ottoville. Lane 7, Ava Stallman of Minster. And Lane 8, Claire Martz of Delphus St. John's.
And it looks like right there in the middle of the track, New Bremen, I believe that is April Baker. She's already broken the stagger as she had a great start to her race. Looks like she will definitely be in the lead as we come around this final curve as we're heading into the home stretch.
So she started out that race pretty quickly, and I'm always interested to see if there's anybody in the race who's going to do a reverse split and pick things up in that final 200. She looks like she's pretty much keeping the same pace, but picking up the pace.
Evie Gast on the inside, looking pretty good. Claire Goki looking good as well. And out there from Ottoville, Kate Turnwald trying to hold on.
Oh, the Parkway runner making her way in.
She's coming through, too. This is going to be a great finish. And the Parkway runner, as that is Naomi Kanapke, collapsed right at the finish line, but I believe she finished.
She got it.
And she is going to be your winner. And, you know, it is going to be April Baker, who looked like she was in the lead coming into the final 150.
Wow.
Is going to be shut out of the regional qualifying as she finished 5th.
Kanapke, it was Kanapke,
Was that Evie
Gast?
Gast?
Kanapke, Turnwald, Goki, and Busher are your top 4 that are moving on. Tonight's title sponsor is Wabash Mutual Telephone, proud supporter of Mercer County Athletics. Mercer County runners are in this next race. It's the boys 400-meter dash. Lane 1 is Andrew Cooley of Delphus Jefferson. Lane 2, Jacob Kelly of New Bremen. Lane 3, Noah Stewart of Spencerville. Lane 4, Victor Holscher, Marion Local. Lane 5, Trevor Stearns of Parkway. Lane 6, Jet Jellison of New Bremen. Lane 7, Griffin Stiles of Waynesfield Goshen. And Lane 8, Carter Dirksen of Minster.
You see Victor Holscher right there from Marion Local in lane 4. It'll be interesting to see how he runs this and what his strategy is. He's had a heavy workload here at this front part of this track meet. We saw him in the 100, 4x1, 4x2, and now here in the 400. Not a lot of rest between those when you get to this district final.
That's right. He made up the stagger, and he's not slowing down.
He is not. He is in the lead as we're going to come through, but look down low. There in lane 2, he's going to get a push outside from lane 5 from Parkway, going to give him a run.
Yeah, Trevor Stearns, so much experience Trevor has at the state level, but Holster's trying to hold him off, and let's look at that.
That is going to be awfully
see who
close.
Won.
We're waiting for the, and it's
Holster
going to be
got
Holscher.
It, 50.89, Stearns second, 50.94. Third place was Jellison from New Bremen, and fourth place, Kelly from New Bremen. And we are off and we are going, folks. It's the girls' 300-meter hurdles. Sophia Whirling in lane 1 from Minster. Lane 2, Lila Jackson from Delphus St. John's. Lane 3, Grace Moeller, Marion Local. Lane 4, Annabelle Horseman, Lincoln View. Lane 5, Carly Busher of St. Henry. Lane 6, Grace Fletterjohn, Spencerville. Lane 7, Cammie Legenkamp of Parkway. And Lane 8, Livia Whitlatch of New Bremen.
Yeah, the 400 is considered by many as one of the most brutal, if not the most brutal, events in track. 300 hurdles is right there with them, as you have to have stamina, you have to have technique. It's all about how you come in and out of that hurdle. Grace Moeller right there, a little bit of a stutter, allowed the Lincoln View runner, Horseman, to catch up. Horseman going into that last hurdle, goes over, and it is going to be Horseman who comes away with the victory. And all it takes is one rough hurdle, and you saw that happen right there with Moeller.
And you mentioned the grit that's needed. You get to these final hurdles, and I tell you what, they look a lot taller to the runners than they really are. Horseman first, Busher second, Moeller third. Fletterjohn squeaks in for the fourth place spot. Our next event, the boys' 300-meter hurdles. This broadcast is brought to you in part by Charles River. Charles River in Spencerville, proud to support area athletes and students. Visit criver.com for more information. Lane 1, Max Brandley, Marion Local. Lane 2, Ren Carpenter of Parkway. Lane 3, Max Kanapke of Minster. Lane 4, Garrett Tretman of Ottoville. Lane 5, Cody Ricker, Lincoln View. Lane 6, Jay Schroeder, New Knoxville. Lane 7, Joseph Lease, Ottoville. And Lane 8, Carson Van Gorder of Spencerville.
Should have a great race in lanes 4 and 5. Garrett Trentman of Ottoville, Cody Ricker of Lincoln View. And we had a false start. Oh, no. And it looks like it might be, is that Trentman holding? No, that looks like Joseph Lease in lane 7. He immediately kind of went to the grabbed his head like maybe it was him, and he's walking off the track. He knows he did it. That's too bad. That's such a brutal thing. When you know it's you and you false start at this level and there's no second chance, that it breaks your heart.
Well, and he had to race to get to this point. They did prelims on Wednesday in some really unsightly weather conditions, so he earned his way to get to this point, and really unfortunate.
Luckily, Lee's just a sophomore, so he'll be back next year. I'm sure we will be calling his name in the finals next year at this point as well. But his teammate, as we were saying, Garrett Trentman, Cody Ricker from Lincoln View, top 2 seed times coming in here, only separated by 1/10 of a second. Should be a great race between those two.
Garrett Trentman, of course, is a name that we have mentioned for multiple years. He's a senior. We've seen him at the state meet before. That big O reminds me of Oregon, but it's not Oregon. It's Ottoville. Oregon, a good track.
Absolutely.
Good track place, though.
They're trying to kind of replicate the results from those Oregon track meets. Trentman out to a great start. He's already broken that stagger. He is already past Cody Ricker, as Trentman a little bit of trouble going into that hurdle, though. But he picks it right back up, goes over cleanly over the next one, and has a nice lead coming into this front stretch.
He comes in with a 39.93 seed time. The record is a 39.85 set back in 2007. He's got some gutsy look on his face, and the Lincoln View runner, Cody Ricker, next to him, just gets him at the end, I think.
got him at the end. You saw Trentman come up a little bit easy going into that last hurdle, and that allowed Ricker.
40.01.
Yeah, Ricker comes in, takes it from Trentman, as it is going to be, what is that, 0.06 of a second, the difference there at the line. And you hear track coaches, they say it over and over and over. You have to run through the line, not to it. And you saw Ricker do it right there, and that guy gave him a district championship.
Kanapke and Schroeder are your 3rd and 4th spots to qualify to the regional. Our next event is event number 17, the girls' 800-meter run. This broadcast is brought to you in part by Laudix Jewelry, your family-owned and operated jeweler for more than 70 years. Visit them at 1244 South Shannon Street in Van Wert or online at laudix.com. In the girls' 800-meter run, we have Sophia Dirksen of Minster, Catherine Hemker of Spencerville, Abigail Dulaban of Waynesfield Goshen, Annie Hemmelgarn of Minster, Jordan Schaefer of Parkway, Emily Fry of Waynesfield Goshen, Brindley Moody of Lincoln View, Quinn Layfeld of St. Henry, Sophie Schaefer of St. Jennings, and Mia Hirschfeld of New Bremen, and Shaylee Boyle of New Bremen. Kristen Pullman of Ottoville, Breslin Rohr of Delphus St. John's, Madeline Hain of Delphus St. John's, Christina Tong of Parkway, Cassidy Deitering of Ottoville, Haley Bowman of Marion Local, Kendall Wells of Marion Local, Brooklyn Byrne of Lincoln View, Jocelyn German of Fort Jennings, Alana Mesher of St. Henry, and Annalie Hood of Spencerville.
You take a look as they're coming into here towards the end of their first lap, as Dirksen out to a big lead. Her teammate Hemmelgarn right behind her, and that is Bryn Bresrohr, she's in 3rd for Delphus St. John's.
And then Moody from Lincoln View is in 4th.
You see Hirschfeld, we saw what she was able to do in the 1600. She is sitting there in 5th, so we'll see how this goes. Rohr came into this one seated 5th. She was kind of right on that cut line, just a second behind Hirschfeld, but doing a nice job putting herself in position here.
This is the point where we really see who has the grit and the guts, because this is the second lap of the 800. These ladies have to figure out a way to maintain the speed and then increase the speed. You're going to see what they do using the straightaway on the back. We've got a leader who's kind of got her chest up there, and you can see both 2nd and 3rd place drafting off her a little bit. And as soon as I said that, our leader picked up the pace.
Well, and you can see Moody looking like she's struggling a little bit heading into that wind, as Hirschfeld now going to fall a little bit off, as it looks like maybe Brooklyn Bryn the Lincoln View runner moving up into 5th, trying to see if she can't track down her teammate Moody.
And it's orange and orange, top 2 spots, as we've seen so many times. Sophia Dirksen and Annie Helmelgarn leading the way. The Delphos St. John's runner, Breslin Rohr, is in 3rd place, and Moody still holding on for 4th. It looks to me like that's how we're going to finish.
Nice job by Breslin Rohr as she is able to hold on to take 3rd. Moody will be your final regional qualifier as 5th, 6th, and the rest of the girls now are coming through as well to finishing up their race strong.
We got a 2:23.83 win from the freshman Dirksen, and that will be your winner for the 800-meter run. Event number 18 is the boys 800-meter run. This broadcast is brought to you in part by Charles River in Spencerville. Proud to support area athletes and students. Visit criver.com for more information. Well, this is one of those events that has a lot of runners because the weather did not make it possible for them to do their prelims that they had early on. Sam Bernhold of New Bremen, Cale Vinning of Crestview, Mason Garamchik of New Bremen, Tyler Bergman of Minster, Christian Kramer of Marion Local, Caleb Thomas of Crestview, Will Kanapke of Minster, Noah Dotson, Waynesfield-Goshen, Chase Farrington, LCC, Creston Toe, Lincoln View, Amarion Jackson, Perry, Ethan Hunt, Delphos St. John's, Zach Heath, St. Henry, Ty Horseman, Ottoville, Logan Twomey, Waynesfield-Goshen, Mitchell Adams, Spencerville, Cale Kundert, Lincoln View, Jude Holland, New Knoxville, Hudson Lawrence, Temple Christian, Chase Furley, Ottoville, Will Treisel, Parkway, Isaac Bruns, Marion Local, Jackson Bailiff, Delphos St. John's, and Carter Miller of Fort Jennings. I feel like I had to read those really quickly or the race might be over because we have some fast runners here.
We do. The top 6 times only separated by 3 seconds. This is really anybody's race. As you can see, this lead pack, as it is the top 5 guys all together right now. This will be a very interesting last lap.
And to tell you how close this is, one of those top runners is doing something that no runner wants to have to do. He's running almost his entire race in lane 2.
Yeah, just because he didn't want to have to get pinned in between a couple of those runners. He is still out there, too, and sitting in 4th place.
We've got Minster, New Bremen. Those are your top 3 at the moment. But this is where we're really going to see what happens because this is the point where these guys are about to take off.
They're using one another, getting a little bit of drafting here, I'd imagine. So the runner in 5th place, I can't quite make out who it is, but doing a nice job with his strategy, just kind of holding back there as the Minster runner falling off as he is now back in 5th place, almost forced off the track. I think there was just some body contact as they came
if
through.
An official saw that, that could be a factor, but I don't know. I didn't see it myself. So as you see there, yeah, he has fallen way off. And you are now seeing those top 4 finishers make their way through. Minster is your winner. Bergman from Minster, Heath from St. Henry in 2nd place. Your 3rd place runner, that was Lawrence from Temple Christian and Bernhold for New Bremen. Well, way to go, Temple Christian, getting a runner onto regionals.
Absolutely. Not usually the biggest team when they come to these types of events, but they've had some really good track runners over the year. A couple of Temple Christian runners actually hold records here at the district level here at Spencerville. So good to see that they still have some good runners coming through. A great race, as we knew that it would be towards the top, and congratulations to the runners moving on to regionals.
This broadcast of the D3 District Track Meet at Spencerville is brought to you by Wabash Mutual Telephone. Wabash Mutual Telephone is our title sponsor of this event, proud supporter of Mercer County Athletics. Event 19, the girls 200-meter dash. Lane 1, Leo Ah of LCC. Lane 2, Lillian Strayer, Spencerville. Lane 3, Kirsten Jackson of Delphos St. John's. Lane 4, Audrey McMichael of Spencerville. Lane 5, Nakaya Kimmett, Delphos Jefferson. Lane 6, Aaliyah Pullman, Marion Local. Lane 7, April Baker of New Bremen. And Lane 8, Kendall Heitkamp of Minster.
Gonna have a little bit of a rivalry run. Delphos Jefferson and Spencerville right in the middle of the track. Audrey McMichael and Nakaya Kimmett, 1-2 coming into this one. But look on the inside. That's Delphos St. John's Kirsten Jackson out to a good start, trying to see if she can't track down Kimmett.
Yeah, but Kimmett's got a plan, and she is executing that plan nicely. She gets the win. 1st place goes to her with a time of 26:27. McMichael's 2nd with a 26:60. Third place, Jackson, and fourth place, Pullman, Marion Local. Event number 20, the boys 200-meter dash. Lane 1 has Liam Putman of Crestview. Lane 2, Chase Bishop, Minster. Lane 3, Garrett Trentman, Ottoville. Lane 4, Victor Holscher, Marion Local. Lane 5, Cole Kaiser, St. Henry. Lane 6, Zach Zerby of Spencerville. Lane 7, Trevor Stearns of Parkway. And Lane 8, Jace Lindeman, Delphus Jefferson. Nate, just reading off those names makes me realize we have a lot of state runners right here. It's hard just to get out of this district.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, somebody who should probably be at regionals is going to miss out, as we are going to have a fantastic race here as they come through the curve and down this front stretch. Zerby
Zach
up
Zerby.
front. Kaiser, though, we saw what he can do. Here's Holscher.
Oh, my goodness, Zach Zerby.
He's trying to hold off Kaiser. Kaiser right at the line. Zerby.
Oh, my goodness.
That is going to be so close. Zach Zerby ran a fantastic race as he came in with that third seed.
His dad's down here. You guys can't see him, but
John is very excited.
That's right. Zerby with the win. Kaiser second.
6-7.
Holscher third. And our fourth advancer is Stearns from Parkway. Our next event is the girls' 3,200-meter run. This broadcast of the D3 District Track at Spencerville is brought to you in part by First Federal of Van Wert. First Federal in Van Wert is a premier sponsor for the Lincoln View Lancers. Your community, your bank. First Federal Bank in Van Wert. Here are our runners in this event. Maria Niekamp of Minster, Caitlin Braun, Spencerville, Katie Donaldson, Delphus St. John's, Annalie Hood of Spencerville, Taylor Muhlenkamp of Parkway, Claire Muller, St. Henry, Araya Fenning, New Knoxville, Alyssa Renner of Lincoln View, Riley Suchland of New Bremen, Maya Kanapke of St. Henry, Anna Gardner, Crestview, Elizabeth Traska of Minster, Josie Miller of Lincoln View, Corinne Sutherland of Waynesfield Goshen, Kara Suchland of New Bremen, and Addison Ruwolt of Waynesfield Goshen.
We will take a look at some of the results from tonight now that we've got some things finalized, and hopefully we'll have some updated team scores for you as well before the race is over. In the girls' 100-meter hurdles, in 8th, it was Alyssa Holman. 7th, Annabelle Horseman. 6th, Reagan Hayes. 5th was Sophia Werling. 4th, Carly Busher. 3rd, Naomi Kanapke. 2nd place was Molly Bram, and your district champ was Grace Moeller. In the girls' 100-meter dash, 8th was Harper Reindell. 7th, Graylee Gross. 6th, Delaney Balliet. 5th, Alea Pullman. 4th, Grace Moeller. 3rd, Molly Bram. 2nd, Nakia Kimmett. And in first place was Audra McMichael. Girls 4x2 race. In 8th place was actually nobody, as LCC, did not compete in that one. So it was just 7 teams, and 7th was Lincoln View. 6th, Marion Local. 5th was Crestview. 4th, New Bremen. 3rd, Minster. 2nd, Spencerville. And your district champ in the girls 4x2 was St. Henry. Girls mile run. Your top 8 places. In 8th place was Kendall Hoffman. 7th, Carly Horseman. 6th, Jane Rindler. 5th, Alana Mesher. In 4th, Brinley Moody. 3rd, Mia Hirschfeld. 2nd was Joanna Top. And in first place with a time of 5 minutes and 22 seconds, Claire Bowman of Minster. Girls 4x1 meter results. In 8th place, Minster. 7th was New Knoxville. 6th, Crestview. In 5th place, Marion Local. 4th, Spencerville. 3rd, Delphus Jefferson. 2nd, Delphus St. John's. And St. Henry is your district champ in a time of 51:44. Girls 300-meter hurdles. 8th place, Olivia Whitlash. 7th, Sophia Werling. 6th, Cami Langenkamp. 5th was Lila Jackson. 4th, Grace Fletter Joanne. 3rd was Grace Moeller. 2nd, Carly Busher. And in first place was Annabelle Horseman. For anybody keeping track, that is the 3rd regional qualifier for Grace Moeller. She has had a very busy day. So we have had a lot of really good time. And as I take a look at the women's team ranking following 12 scored events, Minster out to a big lead. They are in first place with 99 points. 2nd, St. Henry with 57. 3rd, Spencerville with 47. And in fourth place, Marion Local with 44.
So you can see there is a pack of ladies right there at they've got little over 2 laps done, and there are 6 ladies right there that you can see in that leader spot, led at the moment by Muhlenkamp by Parkway. Minster's Niekamp is second, and then Donaldson from Delphos St. John's is currently in third. Only 4 of those 6 ladies are going to make it into the regional, and we've got some close times now. Niekamp comes in with the top seed time with an 11:53, Donaldson with an 11:56. Then we've got Muhlenkamp from Parkway with a 12:17. She is your current leader. Fenning from New Knoxville, who's in that group, comes with a 12:22, and then Riley Suchland from New Bremen, who is your last one in that group, comes in with a 12:24. You got more results there to read here?
Yeah, so we just got in the results for the girls pole vault that has been completed here tonight. Your regional qualifiers: Josie Boat of Minster. In third was Tara Kramer from New Bremen. Second, Annika Freewalt from Delphos St. John's. And your district champ in the girls pole vault with a jump of 10 feet was Riley Higgins of Minster.
So it's still Parkway in first, Niekamp in second, Donald in third, Gardner, who actually has a lower seat time of a 12:38. She's currently in fourth. We've got Fenning from New Knoxville in fifth, and Suchland from New Bremen currently in sixth. We'll be back in just a moment to bring you the last few laps of this race. Just about 2 laps to go, and we have had a change in our grouping. As you can see, Niekamp is no longer in a group of 6. She is now in a group of 1 with 2 laps to go. Minster's Maria Niekamp has taken over the lead. She actually did with about 3 3/4 of a lap to go. Donaldson from St. John's is in second, and Muhlenkamp from Parkway is in third, and currently Gardner from Crestview is in fourth. Probably can't see her right now because she's about half a lap behind your leader, which is Maria Niekamp from Minster.
And take a look at quick finals here quickly while we have a minute. The girls 800-meter results: in 8th place, Alana Mesher; 7th, Mia Hirschfeld; 6th, Cassidy Dearding; in 5th place was Brooklyn Bryn; 4th, Brinley Moody; 3rd, Breslin Rohr; 2nd, Anna Himmelgarn; in 1st place, Sophia Dirksen. And the girls 200-meter dash results: in 6th was April Baker from New Bremen; 5th, Lillian Strayer of Spencerville; 4th, Aaliyah Pullman from Marion Local; 3rd, Kirsten Jackson of Delphos St. John's; 2nd, Audra McMichael from Spencerville; and in 1st place, Nakia Kimmett. After 13 events scored, Minster still in first with 99 points. Spencerville has moved into second with 59. St. Henry right behind them with 57.
Well, Minster is looking like they're going to add a few more points here from this girls' 3,200-meter run. That is Maria Niekamp, the junior from Minster, who is making her way in, and you're about to hear the bell. And there it is. That indicates 1 more lap for your leader, Maria Niekamp. Just incredible depth for the Minster distance ladies. Of course, state champions in cross country, multiple years. I really want to know their formula. It's just incredible how they seem to never have to reload. They just continually are refilling the tank.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible what they do there. The coaching is next level. And before we get off the air, we're going to talk about some of the coaching from Minster as well, as there'll be a huge change on the boys' side of things. But for the girls, their distance program that they have has always been top-notch. The coaching, the athletes, the buy-in, and it's never a surprise year after year as we see top-level distance running from the Minster Wildcats.
So Maria Niekamp went about 5 1/4 laps in that group of 6 ladies just stuck there together for that first 5 1/4 laps, and then that was the point where she said, okay, time for me to go to my next step of the things that I do. And you can see where she is right now, and that she will make her way into the regional next week. We're hoping to see her again at state. Speaking of state, we want to remind you that WOSN plans to continue broadcasting track all the way through the finish. That includes the Division III state track and field prelims and finals. You have an opportunity to be a sponsor for that. Give us a call at 419-339-4444. Ask for Jim or Vicky and ask how your business can be included in our state broadcast finals. There she is, finishing it up, walking her way off the track. Minster gets more points. Katie Donaldson running in for second place. Parkway is in third, but let's take a look here at what's going on for the fourth place finish. This is to go on to regionals, and Gardner from Crestview pushes us out over Suchland from New Bremen. She gets that fourth spot.
What a finish. And we kind of thought that might be how this last lap goes, as the fourth place position had about 3 runners going for it. And then you saw Gardner and Suchland kind of separate themselves. And that is what that fourth place means. You know, you get a chance to move on. You get to extend your track season by a week. And what a great job there by Anna Gardner to get that fourth place position.
Event 22 is the boys 3,200 meter run. Can you believe it? We are to the final individual event of this meet. And here's who we have running. Dalton Pullman of Marion Local. He's your fastest seed time, coming in with a 9:56.68. Next to him is Michael Conkler of St. Henry, Sawyer Linderman of Lincoln View, and Axton McMichael of Spencerville. Next fastest seed time, Nick Prenger of Minster with a 9:58.57. Next to him is Aaron Sawyer of Lincoln View, Max Homan of Delphus St. John's. Then we've got Trey Gettelmeller of Marion Local, Caleb Winterbrink of New Bremen, Kanan Melching of Perry. Next, Derek Young, Crestview, Michael Rindler of St. Henry, Jaden Jaden, let me know how to say your last name. He's from Waynesfield Goshen. Tanner Braun in I'm running out of words. I can't talk anymore, Nate. Tanner Braun from Spencerville in the 5th spot. Jackson Corona of Minster, Isaac Menchofer of Parkway. In the 6th area, Ian Owens of Crestview, Damian Cantor of Waynesfield Goshen, Brentley Van Schoik of New Knoxville. Then we have Simon Schroyer of New Bremen, Alan Ricker of Ottoville, Jack Bakke of Delphus St. John's. Finally, Riley Kemper of Ottoville, Will Lammers of New Knoxville, and Xavier Briggs of Perry.
So I can actually help you with Jane's name. I actually know his family. So that is Duvernay.
Duvernay.
Yep, is how
All
you say that.
Thank you very much.
So we will take a look at some of the results from the boys' side of things while we have a minute here. For the boys' high jump, your top 8 were DJ Bensman, Trace Clousing, Grady Smith, Max Rainley. Moving on to regionals next week, Xander Coyle, Colton Grigsby, Preston Rushilling, and your district champion from Delphus St. John's, Drew Boggs, with a jump of 6 feet 4 inches. He actually was in a tie with Preston Rushilling, but won on, they start looking at misses and different things at different heights, and that's what gave Drew the first place finish. In the boys 110 hurdles, 8th went to Adam Winter. Lane Steinke was 7th, Bro Dwenger in 6th, Cody Ricker in 5th, Noah Peters was 4th, Jay Schroeder is 3rd. In 2nd place, Carson Herod, and in 1st, Garrett Tretman of Ottoville with a time of 14.83 seconds. In the 100-meter dash, Gage Steinke, 7th, Jace Lindemann. Liam Putnam was 6th. Justin Knopf was 5th from Marion Local. 4th, Drayden Hoffman. Zach Zerbian, 3rd from Spencerville. In 2nd was Victor Holscher. And in 1st place, Cole Kaiser in a time of 11.01 seconds. Boys 4x2, 8th place Spencerville, 7th was New Bremen, 6th Waynesfield Goshen, 5th place Parkway, 4th Minster, 3rd place went to Crestview, 2nd place St. Henry, and in 1st place with a team of Andrew Pullman, Justin Knopf, Mason Jones, and Victor Holscher was Marion Local in the time of 1 minute 30 seconds, .30. Top 8 finishers in the boys 1,600 meters. Wyatt Gurman, Tanner Braun, Lincoln Smith, Michael Rindler, Hudson Perot from Crestview. In 3rd, Evan Johns from Lincoln View. Ryan Stuckey and Trey Gunnemeller from Marion Local were your top 2 placers. Boys a 4x1 results. In 7th place, Spencerville. 6th, Parkway. 5th went to Delphus Jefferson, 4th place Ottoville, 3rd place Crestview, 2nd St. Henry, and your district champion was Marion Local. Boys 400-meter dash results. Andrew Cooley was in 8th, Carter Dirksen in 7th, Noah Stewart 6th, Griffin Stiles came in 5th, Jacob Kelly 4th, Jet Jellison 3rd, Trevor Stern 2nd, and Victor Holscher, he came away with a close victory as he just held off Stearns in a time of 50.89. Your boys 300-meter regional finalists Jay Schroeder, Max Kanapke, Garrett Trentman, and Cody Ricker, as Ricker won by 0.06 of a second in a time of 40.01. And when we take a look at the current boys team scores, after 13 events, Marion Local is out to a very large lead, as they have almost doubled up St. Henry. They currently have 106 points. St. Henry in second with 54, Minster in third with 51, and Spencerville in fourth with 41 points.
Little less than 5 laps. Sorry, a little less than 5 laps to go. A little more than 3 laps in, and the runners are starting to spread out. Our top 2 times coming in are doing exactly what they do on their seed list here, or their seed times. You got Marion Local first, and Minster is in second. Crestview is currently in third. New Bremen is in fourth, and Marion Local is in fifth. 4 guys will continue their way on. It looks to me like that third place runner is picking things up. Does that look that way to you?
Yeah, he's definitely closing the gaps on our leaders there, trying to see if he can't use it, almost like he's trying to use that backstretch and that wind that's hitting the leaders to his advantage, as he reeled him in a little bit there, and kind of opening that stride coming out, but still being led up front by Marion Local and Minster.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the 3200 is there's a way to run it. It is not a sprint. There's a system, and it's interesting to see what's happening right here, because we are seeing the Crestview runner. He's now tucked right in. Yeah, he's tucked right in there, into that. That is Derek Young from Crestview. So interesting time. He's got a 10:22:29, and he's tucking himself right behind the guys with the 9:56 and a 9:58.
And it looks like he's using those straightaways to his advantage, kind of opening that stride, settling in on the curves, and then we're seeing him close the gaps on the straightaways. We'll see if he continues that strategy here as they hit the back stretch.
That's right. Let's watch this one more backstretch before we take a quick break. He's doing exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Look at that. He is utilizing that straightaway to increase his stride. It's noticeable that his stride is bigger.
Yeah, and then as we go to settle in here on the curve, I think you're just going to see him kind of settle in a little bit, and now he's going to use his positioning just to kind of draft right behind the top 2 runners, kind of conserve some of that energy. And, you know, now it's just going to be a matter of when he decides he wants to try to maybe make a move, or because of the lead that they have, he's just happy being right there along. But there he goes, right around on the straightaway, and he's going to take over first place.
Yeah, I mentioned that we were going to go to a break, but I don't think we are. I think we're going to stick with this race, because I'm really interested to see what happens, because it looked like Marion Local and Minster were just in their nice little pace. They were moving along. They knew what they wanted to do in this race. I think they still have a plan. But we've got a first place leader that on paper we didn't expect.
Yeah, and his strategy seems pretty clear right now, and he's still kind of settling in. Now it's a little different, though, because now you're out in front. The wind is hitting you directly, and you see Nick Prenger. Prenger from Minster went with Young from Crestview when he made that move, but Prenger not wanting to pass him, still letting it. Now it's going to be interesting as they hit lap traffic a little bit, how runners navigate this, get around, not losing that momentum that they have really does come into play. And since we have a couple of minutes and we're talking about Prenger and we're talking about Minster, some big news out of the track world happened this week. Longtime coach from Minster, the head boys coach Larry Top, he has been coaching for 40 years at Minster.
40 years.
And he is going to finally call it a career whenever this season wraps up for Minster, which if anybody's been paying attention to Minster track over the years, I imagine it's not going to be until after June 7th. But he is going to hang it up. He's going to call it a career. He has 16 MAC titles in his time at Minster. They were the 2021 Division III team state champions and countless regional qualifiers, countless state qualifiers. Just an absolutely Hall of Fame career, as you see another big change here in the front of this 3,200-meter run.
We got Marion Local back to the lead. Minster second. Crestview is in third. 40 years. Nate, let's think about that. 40 years coaching track at Minster. So he's got, I'm just trying to think of how many generations he has experienced.
Yeah,
or how many generations have experienced him.
And he's probably on, he's probably coached grandpa, dad, son, daughter, maybe even then some grandkids as well. I mean, he has seen them come through. And we know Minster, the community and a lot of those people, they are there for life. That is their community, that is their home.
Yep.
So you see that generational talent. It's one of the reasons why Minster is so talented in everything. They stay there, and he has been there through a lot of that. We were talking off air a little bit. We've both been around sports our whole lives almost. I just finished up my 22nd year of coaching, but I've had several different stops. And I'm only 40 years old, and I'm feeling it. I can't imagine 20 more years and the level of success that he has, and the time and the devotion, the dedication that it takes to coach at a high level at a place like Minster, where it is a result-driven place. It's just very impressive. He's had a great career, and he definitely will be missed on the track.
Yeah, congratulations to Larry Topp and to the entire Minster community for 4 decades of leadership, success, a legacy right there that will definitely continue on. Well, we heard the bell. This race is almost over.
And Pranger out to a big lead now. He didn't wait on anybody else. He took over that lead as he passed Pullman from Marion Local. And we have seen a little bit of a peek over the shoulder there by Derek Young from Crestview, just trying to see where maybe that 4th and 5th place runner are. He's got to be feeling pretty good about his positioning right now.
Yeah, Derek Young still looking quite strong. I've been mostly covering Southern track this season, so most of my has been in the Mac School area. I have not had a chance to see him run. I have seen these other 2 guys run, and I'm looking at Minster at Pranger, and he just continues to have a real solid strength. I mean, it looks like he could keep going for a really long time.
Yeah, it was a great strategy. It's not going to be a PR night for him, but he knew he didn't need that. He ran a very solid strategy race. You saw him tucked in behind Pullman for most of it. He went with Young when he needed to. He let other runners do the work for him that led him to have that strength in those last couple of laps to give him this district championship. As you see Pullman cross in 2nd, Derek Young in 3rd. And then that is going to be...
Got New Bremen there.
Is that Wittenbrink out of New Bremen? If that is him, he crushed his season PR.
Schroyer is who that is. So we got Pranger, Pullman, Young, and then Schroyer from a 10:31 down to a 10:21.
Okay. So
hey,
still,
that's pretty good.
Pretty good one, yeah.
That's great.
He was in a little bit farther of a lane down. That's why we thought maybe it might have been his teammate at first. But a great run by Schroyer as he was able to take some time off, set a new season PR.
There we go.
And he's on his way to regionals.
Top 4 guys have made it in, and they continue to run for another week. Final 2 events for the Division III District Track at Spencerville, brought to you in part by Homans Insurance. Homans Insurance, your trusted local insurance specialist. Member of the Wayne Insurance Group, with 2 locations to serve you in Chickasaw and Versailles. Event number 23, the girls 4x400 meter relay. Lane 1, New Knoxville, leading off with Avery Albers. Lane 2, New Bremen, Mia Hirschfeld. Lane 3, Delphi St. John's is starting out with Claire Martz. In Lane 4, Minster has Sophia Dirksen. Lane 5, St. Henry with Morgan Balmer. Lane 6, Spencerville, Lillian Strayer leading off. Lane 7, Ottoville with Cassidy Deitering. And in Lane 8, Lincoln View with Annabelle Hortzman.
The 4x4 is considered the premier event, right? The star-studded one of any track meet. It closes every track meet every single year.
Sometimes it decides it.
To me, though, it just means that you got to find 4 crazy people on your team to run this. As this is 400 is one of the toughest races, and to be able to have one runner be able to run it at a high level is impressive. But these teams that have good 4x4 teams, when you can put out 4 runners who run at a high level, the 400, it is very, very impressive. It speaks of the depth of your team and the training ability. And I give all the credit in the world, because if I tried to run a lap at any sort of speed right now, I'm pretty sure I'd be puking before the 200. So.
It really is a gutsy race, and you're seeing these girls get the last 200. This is the point where they have to pull everything that they've got out of them. Well, I would say once they hit the straightaway is when they really have to pull everything they've got out of them, because their bodies are just screaming. Minster is looking to be in the lead. They do come in with the fastest seed time, though it's hard to tell exactly who's in the lead because of that stagger.
Yeah, it's definitely Minster, though, as they came in. They had about a 4-second lead on the seed time. They were the first handoff. They're going to have a big lead as they come around this curve.
That was Sophia Dirksen, according to my schedule that I've got here, handing off to Ava Stammen. So freshman to senior. No surprise, though. Minster, doesn't matter if they're freshman or senior, they've got such strength.
And we've talked about it a couple of times tonight, just the strength of Minster in that distance and mid-distance as well with this 400. And anymore, I don't think you can call the 400 a mid-distance. It's a sprint anymore.
Absolutely,
in track. Yeah. But, but they're so good, and we talked about how it's just kind of rinse and repeat for Minster a lot of times with their athletes and what their coaches do with them. But that showed it right there. You had a freshman lead off this 4x4 handing off to a senior. We're going to have 4 more years of watching that freshman run at a high level.
So speaking of running at a high level, New Bremen did some damage here in this second leg. That runner has moved her team into second place, and now take a look at what Ottoville is doing, coming from the outside and challenging for that second spot, but it's still Minster handing off to Joanna Top, another freshman, and then it's New Ottoville in second, New Bremen in third, and then we've got a close one. Actually, that's a pack back there for second, third, fourth, and fifth.
There was a lot of traffic there at the line for those exchanges as those runners came in, did a nice job, a lot of clean handoffs for as much traffic as they had right at the line. They're trying to jockey around, but 2, 3, 4, and 5 all up for grabs. Everybody trying to make sure that they're in the top 4, though, so that their seasons don't come to an end.
Spencerville's Grace Fletcher-John just moved her team into second place, looking very strong. How much does she have left for the back half of this race, that 200? If you notice, she is not one of the taller runners, so her stride is not going to be quite as long, but she is pumping those arms and using her strength to try and hold on to that second place spot. Meanwhile, St. Henry says, I have a different plan. Riley Busher stepping things up and moving ever so closer to that Minster team.
Yeah, doing a great job did Busher, as we see Allison Pape from New Bremen also give her team a chance there. She moved them into fourth, but Ottoville right behind, trying to stay within striking distance as the top 3 teams starting to separate themselves a little bit.
These anchors, it's always fun to see what these anchors can do. According to what we have listed here, it's Claire Bowman anchoring for Minster, and it's Evie Gass anchoring for St. Henry. And I'm just trying to think what's in Evie's mind right now as she's just about on Minster's heels.
Trying to reel her in. We'll see how she runs this curve and when she chooses to try to maybe make her move. But Minster looking very, very strong. Ottoville holding on to fourth place, has a nice lead over New Bremen currently. New Bremen looks to be fading just a bit as Minster opening up this lead, going to come away with the victory and be your district champ.
Yeah, this is not the first time we've seen this incredible runner push her way to that first place spot in that end. So Minster gets the win here at the district. Second place going to St. Henry. Spencerville looks like they came in third, and Ottoville will get the fourth spot to move on to next week. Event number 24, the boys 4x400 meter relay, will be our final event, which has been brought to you by our title sponsor, Wabash Mutual Telephone. Wabash Mutual Telephone, proud supporter of Mercer County Athletics. Lane 1 has Parkway, leading off with Josiah Neff. Lane 2, Lincoln View with Noah Peters. Lane 3, Spencerville with Noah Stewart. In Lane 4, New Bremen, leading off with Sam Bernhold. Minster in Lane 5 with Chase Bishop. Lane 6, Marion Local with Justin Knopf. Lane 7, Waynesfield Goshen. Lane Steinke is your leadoff. And in Lane 8, Ottoville, Chase Furley.
We saw a really impressive time drop out of the Ottoville girls in the
about
girls
4x4,
seconds. About 15 seconds. So, the seed times, they look pretty close. You have New Bremen out there at 3:31, Minster 3:33, Marion Local 3:35, but don't count anybody out because, with the way that teams can trade runners in and
Absolutely.
out, sometimes these seed times can be a little deceptive.
All right, take a look at what Minster's doing. In fact, this guy's running so hard, his number on the back of his jersey is about to fall off.
Yeah, bib number's a new thing in the OHSAA this year. A little bit of a rough handoff there for Minster.
Spencerville taking advantage of that fact. Zach Zerby now with the baton, but Minster making up for it. Max Kanapke.
As it looks like as they go, they're going to cut in here at this 300 mark. Spencerville is going to be in the lead, though.
So New Bremen comes in with the fastest seed time. We do not see New Bremen
There they are. They're
anywhere
moving up
near
through. They're back there tied for 4th currently, kind of going neck and neck with Lincoln View.
But you know, as you said before, it takes 400 runners to run the 4x4. So things can change based off how that lineup is planned.
And sometimes if you have a strong 400 runner, you know, that's your anchor. You know, the other 3 guys know we just got to keep it close. Our anchor will take care of it for us. So this race never over, as the top 4 spots still very much up for grabs.
Spencerville still in the lead. Minster second. Marion Local a close third. And New Bremen has moved into the 4th spot.
As it looks like that is Lincoln View and maybe Park. No, who's that? Waynesfield.
So Marion Local just took over that leading position, and it's Marion Local, Andrew Pullman.
And Minster now moving into second. Spencerville falling a little bit back. New Bremen looking to catch up to Spencerville as well. We said it just takes one leg. Nice race back there for 5th as they are trying everything they can to get themselves up close to that 4th spot. They want to give them their anchor at least an opportunity to reel in that 4th place finish.
So Marion Local does not come in. They come in with the 3rd fastest seed time, currently with a strong lead. Minster second. Spencerville still holding on to 3rd. New Bremen is in 4th. Remember, the top 4 move on to regionals.
Waynesfield in 5th now. They got the baton early. The anchor was very, very antsy, wanted that quickly. He has a lot of ground to catch up, though, if he wants to try to reel in one of that 4th position.
And now we're seeing the New Bremen runner on the backstretch. Perhaps this is going to be the reason why we saw them closer up. Oh, he has moved into the 3rd position right now. Now, of course, we do not know which 4 runners ran earlier this week in the prelims. They have an opportunity to change them out.
You see the Waynesfield trying, their anchor is digging, trying to find a way to catch Spencerville. I don't know that he's going to have enough track to do it, though.
Marion Local, a strong lead. Minster second. New Bremen powering their way possibly into the 2nd place position, and I think he may have gotten it. There's your top 4. Marion Local, New Bremen, Minster, and Spencerville. Waiting to see it officially on the board. There it is, 3:29.03 for Marion Local, 3:30.25 for New Bremen. A nice come from behind, kind of a come from behind to make his way up to 2nd place.
Yeah, they did a nice job. You saw Waynesfield fall off there. Spencerville was out to that early lead. The 3rd and 4th legs did their job, stayed within that 4th position. They're going to be moving on to regionals, and it was a great night of track here. And looking at the live scoring on miles split, your district team champions, it'll be the Minster Wildcats on the girls' side, as they will hold off Spencerville. And when you take a look on the boys' side of things, your district champ will be the Marion Local Flyers, as they win big over 2nd place Minster.
Well, don't forget, we are going to continue covering all the way through state. Actually, we're taking a break with regionals. Our crew is going to be doing some more baseball this next week, so we apologize for that. We got a small crew, but we are hitting it hard for state track. Nate and I will be down there with a few more from WOSN to give you awesome coverage. You can be a part of it with your business. Give us a call at 419-339-4444 for sponsorship opportunities. Speaking of sponsorships, our title sponsor tonight is Wabash Mutual Telephone. Our presenting sponsors are First Federal of Van Wert, Holman's Insurance, Charles River, and Laudix Jewelry. That's going to wrap it up for us from Spencerville with the Division III District Track Meet. For Nate Garlock, Jacob O'Neill, our fearless leader, Nick Fraley, and myself, Jennifer Beck, thanks for watching this track broadcast on WOSN.